is a spiritual deity. Freedom and liberty and justice shall fight for you. When you fight for freedom with all your soul, take it from me. This is Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB, the voice of the nation, the voice of the rising sun.
And here is a special announcement from the leadership of Biafra government in exile. This is BCB.
The more we fight together, 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 the more we fight together, and stronger we shall be. The more we fight together, 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 the more we fight together, and stronger we shall be.
Rising soul, hey, rising soul, yeah.
Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Believe it or leave it, Biafra is the only hope of Africa.
We've been crying, the world claim not to hear. And we've been lamenting, the world claim not to hear. Our tears flow, the world claim not to see. And our blood flow, the world claim not to see. This is a crime, oh no, against humanity, oh no, yeah, this is a crime. Eritrea spoke up, they were given independence. South Sudan spoke, they were given independence. Namibia spoke up, they were given independence. Give me the reason my people got to be neglected. Give me the reason my people got to be rejected. Give me the reason our freedom got to be a crime. Give me the reason our own freedom got to be denied. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. I tell you what, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Believe it or leave it. Oh no. Whoa.
Hello, Biafrans. Ndewoni. Hello, this is Rosama, and this is BCB. In this special session of our program, our brother, Nwa Biafra, whom you have heard before, takes a look at our broadcasting programs, connecting us with Voice of Biafra International, which was a precursor to BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. You will hear him shortly. In his very carefully presented analysis of our broadcasting history, he connects us with our leader, our deceased leader, C. Odumegwu Ojukwu. The representation of Ojukwu
by the Nigerian media and the Nigerian government as a warmonger, and how that representation is a distortion, in fact, an untruth. Because as Ojukwu's journals reveal to us, even as Biafrans, and particularly Igbos, were being massacred, Ojukwu sought peace. When Ojukwu went to Aburi in Ghana to meet with Gawan and to work towards peace and healing that cumbersome nation, Nigeria, he had hopes that the meeting in Ghana would resolve the problems that faced Nigerians at that time. He had hope that there would be some peace and that Nigerian government and Biafra and Biafrans will work towards peace. Ojukwu returned to Biafra with the hope and intention of abiding by the agreed upon resolutions. But Gawan reneged and turned around and escalated the violence. It was not Ojukwu who was heading towards war. In fact, Biafra did not attack first. The first salvo was fired by Nigerian soldiers, by Nigeria. And Biafrans, and Ojukwu in particular, had no choice but to respond and try to protect Biafra. So our brother Nwa Biafra reminds us of this in the hope that we can also maintain clarity. Biafrans have not been the aggressors. The aggression has always been directed at us. In addition to addressing the misrepresentation of Ojukwu by the Nigerian government, Nwa Biafra also takes a look at the topics of our broadcast. I invite you to listen to him carefully with the hope that you will hear us, which indeed is the focus of his piece. Are you listening to us? Are you hearing us? Are you listening carefully to us and with intention? Are you hearing us? Are you thinking of things that we are saying? Are you paying attention to the issues that we have been raising? Are you paying attention to the warnings that we have been sending to our people? Over and over, we have warned about the aggression of the Nigerian government towards our people. Over and over, we have warned our people about the intrusion of the jihadist in the guise of the Hausa or the Fulani herdsmen. Over and over, VOBI, Voice of Biafra International, before us, and now BCB, have warned and alerted our people that the jihadist project of extermination and Islamization of our region has not stopped. And our people have not listened. The leaders, the governors in a number of our states have not heeded our warnings. Instead, they have welcomed these jihadists into our communities, and now they are rampaging the land. And so today, we dedicate this special program to our people. Our program last week focused on the Asaba massacre, defining it as a harbinger of what was to happen to us during the war. But it's also a continuation, rather, a foreshadowing of what has continued to happen to us in Biafra land. In the past decade, our people have been disappeared. Young people have been disappeared. Women have been raped in the bushes, kidnapped, disappeared. Communities ravaged, destroyed, razed to the ground. The war has not stopped. What we have seen and continue to see is a silent war that is being waged at our people right before our eyes. Nwa Biafra's peace underscores these issues. And in his piece, he asks us to listen, and to listen carefully, and to act accordingly. We must prepare ourselves. We must protect ourselves by any means necessary. This is Rose Ama. I wish you peace, but I also hope that you listen to us and that you hear us and that you contemplate on what we have been saying and that you act accordingly. Our people, there is no turning back. We have crossed the Rubicon, or at least we have arrived at our Rubicon. And now we must make a decision. It is survival. It is also time to listen, to be wiser. It is time to wake up. This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. And I am Rose Ama.
This recording, this piece is for the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, and it's recorded by Nwa Biafra. The title is Meta Broadcast, or A Broadcast on Broadcasts. Greetings to everybody, to all Biafrans and their well-wishers all over the world and in Biafra land. As you know, BCB has been with us for a while after having taken over from Voice of Biafra International VOBI broadcasts following several years of the latter's pause. So I ask today,
Are we listening to the broadcasts? As we listen to what is being said, are we actually hearing? If we are, then we ask, are we understanding? And if so, are we internalizing the message so to act accordingly? Are we really moved by the message? Not just moved, but compelled to take effective action. Allow me to demonstrate what I speak of. Let's consider September 11, 2022 broadcast. In the very first few sentences, the PM's address correctly reminds us that the Biafran War was not the so-called Civil War, quote unquote. The term Civil War was deliberately skewed from the history of the war as written by so-called Victor Nigeria and by Nigeria's friends. And then thereafter, that term Civil War has been parroted, repeated by the rest of the lazy world until now, and maybe for a long time in the future. But this was not really a civil war. This was not a civil war. That's the point that the PM was repeating. The Biafra-Nigerian War was in fact a war of genocide against Igbo and Biafrans in Nigeria. In fact, it was a war to destroy any perceived or real earned advantage the Igbo Biafrans had in Nigeria by other peoples of Nigeria. That war, in fact, was a war to punish the Igbo Biafrans for what they do best: thrive, prosper, and excel, adversity or not. And it was done by an envious, jealous rest of Nigeria, with its principal sponsor, Britain. It was a war to dispossess the Igbo Biafrans of their businesses, of their assets, of their resources, including natural resources found in their land. The Biafra War was a war of genocide that the rest of the world recognized as such, but somehow did not have the courage, the will, or the humanity to address at all. So let me ask you, how many times have you heard this? Do you understand genocide? Do you understand that you are the victim, even though so far removed as offspring of the 1966 to 1970 Biafra folk? Or you really believe that any of the facts stated above have changed, even in today's world and or the future? Now, why do we repeat topics in these broadcasts? Is it because we are deaf? Or because we are dumb? We lack feelings, maybe? We are not sensitive? You tell me. You tell us. You answer that question to yourself. We know that a 52-year-old Biafran and those younger than he is were not born during the war. So, do you understand what that means? Let me tell you. It means that 100% of the Biafra youth today were not there during the war. They weren't born during the war. To them, the war is a mere story, a taught and learned history, and the worst kind of history, which is that's recorded, narrated, and fed to you by your murderous criminal enemy, Nigeria. That is the worst kind of history to learn, a history told and taught by your enemy that committed genocide against you. Biafra youth have no way to relate to the horrendous experiences of older Biafrans tormented by Nigeria. It's just so unfathomable, so unthinkable. They just can't get there mentally. And that includes up to the age of 52. And that includes people up to the age of 52. And that includes Biafrans up to the age of 52. They do not quite get it that the war never ended. That Nigeria has unilaterally continued to pepper us all, present-day youth included. Nigeria has continued in its unilateral determination to wage that war as long as there are any Biafrans left anywhere in Nigeria, including even in Biafra's own homeland or in the entire world for that matter. They may not figure out that Nigeria has targeted them for decapitation just because they are Biafrans. That's why we repeat these topics over and over in the broadcasts, any way we can, every opportunity we get. No nation on earth which has suffered genocide stays quiet about it. Everyone needs a constant reminder. Never mind that many of the older rest of Biafrans would rather forget the genocidal violence and crime and injustice of it all, and would rather forget their grievance that the world stood by and watched Nigeria and her friends violate us Biafrans physically, spiritually, and psychically, while the world remained in denial to this day. Never mind that we, youth and all, can now, today, say that we Biafrans do in fact continue to experience the racist oppression by Nigeria, when we experience this for ourselves, regardless of age grouping, as we endure the materialization of the ongoing bent of Nigeria to continue and finish the job against Biafrans. So, we have to keep knocking on this door of your attention, which is long accustomed to ignoring negative things. We have to keep stirring your calmness, wherein you have unwisely sought to shut out real events negatively impacting your daily life, directed at you and your family by a calculating, mean, wicked Nigeria. We need to tell the story. We need to tell the true story of us and what is happening to us in Nigeria and what has happened to us at the hands of Nigeria. In that same broadcast referred to at the beginning of this report, the news analysis covered Nigerian politics, especially as it relates to the campaign for the so-called Igbo presidency of Nigeria. As the region rushes headlong and breathless, thrusting and plunging itself into Nigerian politics, we look with disbelief and dismay at a people who are so eager to forget their own recent history and their own nasty experience. How many Nigerian presidency election cycles have dangled the so-called Igbo presidency illusion to the Igbo Biafrans, just in order to distract us from ongoing murder of our people and dispossession of Biafrans, the ongoing strangulation and stifling of our people, all thus calculated to steer us away from the right path of seeking a sovereign, independent, and separate Biafra? So we ask, what have we been relaying to you about this all these years? What have we said about this Igbo presidency of Nigeria nonsense all this while? Let me refresh your mind. 1. Nigeria politics is always skewed against Igbo Biafrans, and its goal is to punish Igbo Biafra. It is a deliberately baked-in design. 2. The only threat to Igbo Biafra existence thus far, whether as currently forcefully kept in Nigeria or in the ongoing process to leave Nigeria, is Nigeria and its politics. That's the only threat. That's the true threat to Biafrans. Biafra is not and should not be interested in participating in Nigeria politics, because Nigeria is not Biafra and Biafra is not Nigeria. 4. A president of Nigeria swears an oath to defend one Nigeria, not to provision for, not to protect, not to actualize Biafra. 5. Even if, and that's a big if, an Igbo becomes the president of Nigeria, given all the election rigging and buying that will surely happen, after all, isn't this about Nigerian elections? So even if that should happen, he or she now becomes the personification and point of the poison-tipped spear that is Nigeria, which is currently being twisted in the belly of Biafra, much to Biafra's agony. 6. An Igbo president of Nigeria, if that ever happens, and may we get Biafra sovereign state before that, amen. An Igbo president of Nigeria will be even harsher to Igbo Biafra than the combined hatred of all previous Biafra-hating Nigerian presidents. So, we repeat the message. Nigeria is for Nigeria. Biafra is for Biafra. As Biafrans, we should not participate or interfere with politics in Nigeria. We strive only to get out of Nigeria into our own sovereign state of Biafra. An Igbo or Biafran running for political posts in Nigeria is on his or her own. Our experience is that they have always served Nigeria and Nigerian interests, never Biafra. Now, the last part of this broadcast of interest goes over a portion of Ojukwu's journal. Thus, we gain access into Ojukwu's state of mind and the state of affairs of Biafra during this period. Here again, this is not a one-off exercise. In previous broadcasts, Ojukwu's personal diary was opened and read and discussed. Of course, Ojukwu at this time had no way to know how the war was going to end. So we must place much weight and confidence to the candid account in his journal. Historians, well, this means largely Nigeria and his friends and other uninformed authors who wrote this history. They have painted a picture of Ojukwu and styled him as a warlord. They have blamed him for the Biafra War. You know, nothing can be further from the facts and truth. Now I'm going to ask you a series of did you knows. This is based upon factual history. Did you know that Ojukwu is respected? No, actually revered by no other than the Nigerian military as one of their best? You probably didn't know that. Why? Because when he was a Nigerian military officer, he was disciplined and smart. He stood firm on the military tradition and the principle that a Nigerian military officer never takes orders from a junior ranking officer. And you know what? He staked his life on this, and because of that, he foiled the Nzeogwu-led first Nigerian military coup in January of 1966. He would never, could never hand over his military command on the quote-unquote orders of a lower-ranking military officer. Do you know what that means? If the rest of the world, especially so-called third world countries, if their soldiers behaved like that, their military officers, and said, we will not take orders from junior military officers, you know, there would hardly be any coup anywhere in the world. That was the character of Ojukwu. He would not even recognize or take orders from Gowon either, because at that time Gowon was a junior ranking officer, but the northern Nigerian revenge putschs, the revenge coups from northern Nigeria of July 1966 had foisted Gowon on Nigeria. Did you know that on his death in 2011, Ojukwu's funeral in 2012 was quote-unquote hijacked by the Nigerian military? And why? Because the Nigerian military was not going to miss a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to honor one of their best, arguably their best. The Nigerian military wanted to give Ojukwu a burial befitting of the best the military had to offer, with full military honors, and they did just that. At Ojukwu's funeral, Biafran flags flew as high as Nigeria's, with the Nigerian military respectfully observant. As such, the Nigerian military made a statement which they had always wanted to make. They sure did. Ojukwu was one of their greatest. Did you know that? But to read the history today, you would never understand this. But you shouldn't have any problems believing that the Nigerian Senate refused to give Ojukwu a state burial. Any surprises there? No. Or that Gowon himself skipped the funeral services. They were the ones who penned the negative history attached to Ojukwu, conveniently forgetting that, quote, no citizen of this republic, Nigeria that is, ever lived Nigerian so fully, spoke Nigerian so eloquently, and embraced so fearlessly the path to Nigeria's greatness as Ojukwu. With iron will, he defended these prerequisites not as lingua of governance and political rule, but as the practical, irreplaceable hinges of federal union. Eloquent in Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, and English, he personified the feasibility of this oneness. This beautiful piece was written about Ojukwu by Nigerians who paid homage to him on his death. So, see all that nonsense history that you're reading, put that within the context of this. And neither could they drown out these consistent characterizations of Ojukwu by erstwhile enemies. Quote, the voice for the voiceless who hated oppression and injustice. One of the best and most revered patriots Nigeria ever produced. He devoted his life to fighting against injustice and oppression of the people. He was courageous. A wonderful man, a man who loved Nigeria so much. He loved his people and always thinking about how Nigerians can prosper. It was his, quote, immense love for his people, justice, equity, and fairness which forced him into the leading role he played in the Nigerian Civil War, unquote. Did you realize that these are the things that were said about Ojukwu and how he's still regarded by the open-minded people, by any fact-loving person, wherever, Nigeria, the world, even in Biafra land? So you see, Ojukwu was a better Nigerian than most Nigerians. As a Nigerian military person, he was a better soldier and military officer than most Nigerian soldiers. Why would he start a war against Nigeria? When Nigeria came out killing Igbo Biafra, Ojukwu was appointed by the Biafran people to lead us in self-defense against Nigeria. And he accepted the onerous responsibility, guided by immense love for his people, justice, equity, and fairness. He did the best of it. In spite of the outcome of the war, he never changed his stance. Neither did Biafrans. Indeed, neither do Biafrans. We are Biafrans, not Nigerians, and we shall get to Biafra no matter how long or what it takes. That's why we keep repeating the broadcasts. That's why we keep repeating the message. There is no doubt that even as Biafrans, we make better Nigerians than most Nigerians would. But there's no doubt that Nigeria is out to get us. Nigeria has been hurting us. And within Nigeria, we have no future. And that Nigeria is making sure that it goes that way. Therefore, we must remember who we are, where we come from, and where we are going. And we must repeat this to you, even though you are only 52 years of age or younger, even though you're over 52, maybe 100 years of age. We need to keep repeating this. Biafra is our destiny. Thank you. This is Nwa Biafra for BCB Broadcast. God bless Biafra and her people. 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 People.
This is Rosama, and this is BCB. We end today's session by returning to Ojukwu's journals. We have used Ojukwu's journals in several of our recordings throughout this year and in the past as a guiding framework for our program to connect us to the past, but also to keep us foregrounded and focused on why we continue this struggle of liberation. And so we return again to Ojukwu's journal, looking at his entry for October 6th through the 15th. Okay, here we are. Last week, we looked at the Asaba massacre. And I will go back to that just very briefly, because Ojukwu's entry for that period was very, very short. October 1 to the 3rd. (1967). Fall of the Midwest, massacre of more than 1,000 Igbos in Asaba by Nigerian troops. Enemy advanced to 9 Mile Corner near Enugu. We know that the war is upon us now, and Nigeria is not retreating, and neither are we. And so, for October 6, 1967, Ojukwu enters. First invasion of Onitsha across River Niger by Nigeria with John Holt and UAC vessels. October 10, enemy enters Enugu, fierce resistance by Biafran troops and people. Onitsha invasion is repulsed. More than 2,000 Nigerian soldiers killed. Enemy burns down Onitsha, £1 million market before retreat. There you have it. Gowon and his troops want to destroy us. And if he cannot kill all of us, he destroys our land, our market. Ojukwu records this as £1 million market. Think about it. £1 million in those days in 1967, destroyed. Just simply an act of revenge, retaliation, destruction. This cannot be representative of a body or a leadership that is advocating peace. No. That destruction of Onitsha market is also symbolic. If you think about that, those of us who were alive during that time, who were born, who knew Onitsha market at that time, knew and still know Onitsha market today as a historical place for our people. It represented the site of Igbo self-imagination. In fact, literature developed around Onitsha market. And some of us read Onitsha market literature. We still talk about Onitsha market today. It was Onitsha and Aba market. Onitsha market, Aba market. But Onitsha market was the place to be, to go to. People went to Onitsha market from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west to shop. And in Ojukwu's journal, he is telling us that the Nigerian troops have destroyed it rather than see it standing because Biafran soldiers have repulsed them. That act of aggression continues today. They did not stop then. They have not stopped. Years later, in the 70s and 80s and 90s, Nigerians in various regions of that country will destroy markets where Igbos had established themselves. In Kaduna, in Kanu, in Jos, including Lagos too, and Abuja. So think about it. It is a continuation of the hostilities directed at us. And yet, They want Biafrans, or specifically Igbos, to stay in this country where we are being trampled every day. I will continue with Ojukwu's journals. October 11th, 7th session of the joint meeting of the Council of Elders and Chiefs and the Consultative Assembly at Umuahia. October 15, I address under officers of the Biafra Army at their passing out parade and invite critical questions on wide range of subjects, including international affairs and politics. There is an asterisk beside this particular entry, and the asterisk reads, every 3 Sundays since October 15th, 1967, I have always conducted the exercise. So this is it. This is Ojukwu's entry for this particular period. We will stop there and we will continue in our next session. We hope that you'll continue to join us and to contemplate our journey, to examine our progress, talk about our challenges, and together find collective resolution to the problem. We are aware that there are so many groups fighting for Biafra, but we cannot have so many leaders. We cannot be distracted by all these mushrooming of groups. The evidence of true commitment is the willingness to subject yourself to the needs of the collective, the nation, to humble yourself and look at the needs of the nation, of the collective, rather than your own insignificant, selfish need. Not everybody is meant to be a leader. Look at Ojukwu. He humbled himself, as smart as he was. His focus, singular focus throughout, was Biafra. He invited criticisms and he listened. Today, many of our people refuse to listen. Rather than listening and trying to resolve the issues, they want to wage war. They break off and they want to establish themselves as the new leadership. But we also forget that we do have a government in exile. That government that connects itself back to Ojukwu at the establishment of the state, the sovereign state of Biafra, is still active, is still alive. Yes, we can work independently, come up with ideas, but it's also important to consider ways in which we come together and work collaboratively and work with the Biafra government in exile so that we, as a group, form one big arrow with a singular direction, the restoration of Biafra. We hope that you're listening. United we stand strong and secure, but divided and selfishly divided, we shall fall and perish. We invite you, BCB, invite all voices. We are here to listen. If you have ideas for us, please send them to us. You have our email address. Join us next time. Like us on Facebook. Share our program. Also like us on YouTube. Till next time, peace. And let's get wiser. This is Rosama. And this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. Thank you again, and remain strong in the struggle. A luta continua.
Thank you for listening to us today. Join us next time for news, cultural, and educational programs. This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Hail to